timeline again for everybody present. So
Timeline.
the timeline of when we have to complete this and get
yes.
it into the state.
We last year we extended the plan to 2018. The state, the board, Warren County Board of Supervisors needs a plan in front of them by August 1st, and we need to get that plan to the state by September 15th. So we have to move along because the planning it's going to be a process. So right now I feel we're under the gun to get something out there in writing.
Okay, we have a few proposals that came in from members of the government entities. I don't see anything from the school districts, so I'll turn to the two school districts present and ask, do you have anything that you want to turn into this panel to get on the agenda so we can try to work it out? I know BOCES sent a letter to Ron. I hadn't read it, but
yeah, I saw the I saw the BOCES letter. It's from the Cap Region BOCES.
correct.
And I looked into it. Our health insurance, we have about 28 component school districts plus BOCES involved in the health insurance consortium, and we have for years. That's pretty efficient. It's served us well. We are not part of the health insurance program that was sent to you through the Cap Region BOCES. But I do want to comment on a very successful, cost-effective collaboration that the school districts have had, frankly, in part with the county for about 5 or 6 years now. I'm not sure how this relates with what we're talking about here, but I think there's a direct relationship. We have a strong relationship with SUNY Adirondack in a certain area, and of course you support SUNY Adirondack. We have at Queensbury we have 5 programs, and Glens Falls City has the same programs. The programs are under the Early College Career Academy umbrella. So our juniors who wish to participate in these programs will be at SUNY Adirondack for half a day their junior and senior years. We have Early College Career Academy in 4 different areas: information technology, advanced manufacturing, business, and information technology. So there are 4 career paths that students can take. The students also take, while they're at SUNY Adirondack, they take college courses. So by the time they graduate from high school, they'll have upwards of anywhere from 22 to 30 college credits under their belt when they graduate from high school. And of course, students that have college credit, earn college credit in high school, are much more likely to pursue higher education. So this is a cost-effective measure because SUNY Adirondack can provide very reasonable tuition to our students, and we also use our BOCES aid to support the students, so the students don't have to pay, nor do the families have to pay for the credits that they're earning. But I think you would agree that these career pathways that the students are taking result in jobs, and they were designed for that purpose. The 5th area that collaboration that we have is through the Chamber of Commerce as well as SUNY Adirondack. Glens Falls is part of this, and Queensbury is part of it also, and that's an internship program in which our students during their senior year are placed in many different areas. We have students at the county sheriff's office, we have students at the hospital with doctors, we have students in accounting firms in these internship programs, and they earn college credit during their senior year that would be transferable into 2- or 4-year college once they graduate from the schools. So those are 5 programs, and the county is involved in all 5 of those programs.
Paul, anything to add?
Outside of, as Doug said, some of the collaboration that we have with our BOCES, it doesn't really impact, I don't believe, the county. But, you know, we certainly have some connections with the city of Glens Falls that Mayor Hall can outline, you know, with our rec programs and some transportation, things like that, shared facilities.
I feel the same way. I think we in Warrensburg work very closely with John Gorowski and the school on a lot of different issues. We just haven't captured them and written them down. So I think we'll do the same thing, and I'm sure they're involved in some of these same programs. I know they do have students go to SUNY and stuff like that. So, I'll follow up with our school superintendent. And, it's kind of on arm length. Hey, can you help? We get in trouble, can we help them? We always help them, they help us back. Our collaboration's been much better in the last few years up there, and we help one another. So we just got to start capturing some of those, Joanne, I think, to get them down in writing. So. Yeah, the last 5 or 6 years has been, we've had very good access to SUNY Adirondack over the last 5 or 6 years. It's been good, and I think these programs are significant programs. So I think they deserve recognition within the context of shared services. We will. We'll capture that, and then going on. And then going on to the communities, I know some ideas were sent in from the city. The mayor has sent in one about IT, and I think IT. You started to have a meeting with Mike to talk about that. Have you had that meeting, Mike?
Yeah, to a point. I went down and kind of watched some demos and things they're looking at and talked real briefly. So I think there's some more discussion to be had to kind of look more in depth. I think the city's kind of looking at a decision to be made if they're going to have their own IT person there. They're reaching the point of needing more help, trying to figure out the best way to get it. Advice kind of there.
What, Dan, would you say that in the future we could probably collaborate together?
Absolutely. We kind of are modeling our city council committee structures much like yours, and we have updated that in the sense of we have like 12 committees now. We have a technology committee that is working on a couple of different issues, but the first one is in analyzing our system that we have. And we are definitely going to be talking with Mike, and on your recommendation, Supervisor, you had mentioned that a while ago, and so I've kind of given that to the tech committee, and they have reached out, and we're going to be setting meetings up with them and also looking at what we already have and go from there. So I think that is definitely something that the city will be able to.
Yeah, and then Mayor Diamond had brought up about tourism, and we've kicked that around. I think it's now is the time we're at our crossroads with our tourism versus CVB to look at that. But I think we could certainly do more for the city on tourism. And I think who is it reaches out to us a lot.
Our person that's in charge of our tourism, which is she's kind of got a big umbrella thing she does. We also call her our events coordinator. So I think Mayor Diamond was thinking along the lines of Supervisor Diamond was thinking along the lines of maybe having her expertise help some of the other communities and putting on events and things like that. So,
right, and that's something we need to capture right now because, like I said, we're in between where we're going to head with tourism. So I think going forward, we need to keep that one as a hot button topic. And then the last one was GIS. We do GIS for everybody right now. The county does, and if you need help, certainly.
I think we do. We used to have a person that was in GIS for us, and I don't know what the procedure was if they actually came to the county or not, but
Okay.
we don't have that
Well,
right
certainly come to us because
Okay.
we have our coordinator over there, Sarah Frankfield, right? And she does all the GIS for the county, and I know that with the local fire departments taking on this I am responding phase, and they're going to start to use tablets in the fire trucks. It's going to point out to the volunteer firemen and the, where they're going, where the hydrants are located. So there's a lot of that going on, and we're working in conjunction with the county on that type of thing too. But you may already have that in the city. I don't know. We just talked with Chief Schrammel. It's a little bit different because you're professional, But,
Yeah.
So if you come up with any other programs, please get us, as soon as you
Absolutely.
can. And then the one, there's an arm length one that I've been pushing. I know Matt wrote it down, was the countywide assessing, which basically does have an effect on all the school districts. And I think, I'm not a proponent for putting anybody out of work, but I think, if we have a few assessors in the county doing it countywide as a whole, where we all base our equalization rates on the same thing. I mean, we have two districts, two towns that have a different equalization rate than the rest of the towns. And certainly, if you have a common school district and two towns, you should have the same assessing opportunities. And right now, it doesn't work all the time, but I think that's something we really need to discuss, is doing countywide assessing and having the assessor do the whole county and having the same equalization rates. And it may take more than one person to cover all the parcels. And I know most of us share now. So it may be an idea of combining some forces to do that. Supervisor Simpson?
You and I attended a local government review board meeting that identified some of the issues that are created. We don't really know, we haven't figured it out yet, but there's different assessment practices for state land, and many of our towns include quite a bit of state land. Town of Oregon's got 25% state land. We're at a different rate than other towns in the same county that have state land. So we haven't quite figured out what the correlation is, why it's like that, but maybe, we talked about different assessors assessing the property. So there's opportunity to get correct assessments.
Right, and I think that's a huge issue for us, the state land assessing and how you do it. And they've put together a pretty good chart showing which counties do it well and which towns do it well and which towns are on the short end of the assessing angle. So I understand, talking to our assessor, well, there's more to it than just state land, and we get that. So, but it's something we should look at because it does impact the up-county towns quite a bit. Frank?
Yeah, if you had countywide assessing, though, when it comes to like the STAR exemption, I know the seniors bring in their paperwork all the time. Who's going to do that? I mean, is that going to be a town responsibility to do that, or is that going to be a county employee sitting there doing that, or how's that going to work? And
Well, I think,
where's the savings there? I don't.
for the convenience of the clerks, I mean, a lot of towns have assessing clerks that help out the assessors. We don't have a full-time assessor in our office. He's part-time, and our clerk is only part-time. So it seems to work out very well for us. We have staff in our town hall can do it with the assessors not there, or the assessor's clerk may not be there in the afternoon. We have other people who can do that job. I don't think we're going to get away from having the paperwork delivered, to the towns. I know people have mentioned countywide tax collection. I think that's near and dear to people. They either go to the town halls to pay their taxes. So some of those things we may not do, but
I think
we
the
got to
assessing is too. I said I think the assessing is too, because
we need to.
people have a
talk little bit
problem.
more
They
about
come
that.
see
But I
the
do
assessor.
think it's something that we should look at. I think it's done in certain areas of the town. So.
Okay.
And then John, yes, Doug, you.
Well, not pertaining to the assessors, but I met last week with Susan Savage. She's the governor's special projects coordinator for shared services and so forth. I met with her for a couple hours, and she was kind enough to just go over some of the different things that other counties are doing, breaking down each county. And I know she met with Joanne, and she had Joanne had, as usual, a lot of good ideas too, as she was telling me. And a a couple of them, and I don't want to get off the assessor thing, but she did mention county assessor and so forth, what some counties are doing. But she also mentioned that some of these counties are now having a website for all their equipment. Okay, so for example, the Glens Falls may need a grader or something. Instead of going and bidding for a grader, maybe the county has one, and sharing equipment, but having a website so that all the towns and the county have all their equipment that they have available, that, towns can then bypass buying specific pieces of equipment and share. That makes sense to me. Also, she mentioned that a big thing of the governor initiative is sharing healthcare costs. Now, I know it's a big thing to tackle, but the fact of the matter is, obviously, we're self-insured here in county, but maybe looking into the fact that maybe each town, there could be significant savings with the towns and the city and so forth if we were all under the same umbrella from a health insurance standpoint. And again, I know that's a big project, but she says they are counties doing that now. And she mentioned one or two that are now having a county-wide, including the towns and the cities, in the same health program.
Yeah, we're going to reach out to our broker and ask him to reach out to Tompkins County.
Yes, that's the one doing it.
Tompkins County does it. I know probably 4 or 5 years ago when we went to Plattsburgh, there was, the rules had to change on that number of people could be involved, and I think they changed the rules, but I think we're going to reach out to our broker and ask them to get a hold of Tompkins County and find out how it works out there, because I do believe that towns in Tompkins County are part of the county system, so,
Yeah,
that's a
and
good one.
in fact, the governor just recently said that's a big initiative of his. So not only from a, make sense standpoint, but he's willing to put in some resources, he said, to help assist the counties and the towns to make this happen. Financial assistance, experts on how to weed through all the paperwork and so forth. So that's encouraging, I think. And then I was talking to Mike Colvin, and Mike and I, we were discussing how we could, Mike and the county could help Glens Falls with their technology challenge and so forth. But he also was mentioning how maybe we go with a website on equipment that he has in his department, that towns, instead of having to go buy, or even school districts having to go buy, we may have some things up here that you could use. I mean, those, he mentioned one item like $200 difference from Johnsburg or Thermon or something. He said it's not a lot of money, but you start adding all those up. So instead of them, they used our contract to go purchase something that saved them $200 on an item they would have spent more, obviously, on. So I think, my mind thinking, okay, the big piece is the equipment we can all share, maybe on a website, but why can't we have all these different departments and listings of what each town has and the county has, so we can start sharing all these things. It's just, to me, it opens up a lot of opportunity from a saving standpoint for all of us. So I think if we start thinking along those roads of how we can all start sharing things, instead of just going out and buying something, but, hey, maybe Glens Falls has this I can use. Maybe Queensbury's got that. Maybe, Glens Falls has this. Johnsburg needs this, But if we have a website listing all the things that we have collectively, then you don't have to go out and keep buying new things and so forth. We can share those. So I think that's got to be a part of our program too, is this website and listing all collectively the different things we have as towns with the county and even school districts.
And John, you care to talk about yours, John Stroud, Supervisor Stroud? You had a good list.
You want me to talk? Yeah, I'll talk about that. I don't know if Matt wants to sneak in something.
I just wanted to touch on something that Doug had mentioned early on in his discussion. I sat in on a Department of State presentation down in the Association of Towns in Manhattan Tuesday, and the Department of State is willing to work with anybody that has these plans, and they've got up to $25,000 that they're authorized to, on the spot, if you've got a fairly good plan, to start the process of looking at it. So there is financial help for available up to $25,000 without having to go through any process through Department of State.
John?
Yes, I've submitted a few ideas on what we could possibly do for shared services. One is, and it's similar again to Tompkins County, is to set up a consortium. And as Doug had mentioned, the schools have set up a consortium, and there's nothing prohibiting municipalities from joining schools in a consortium. But in accord with New York State Article 47, you're allowed to set up a consortium, okay? It is a group of independent employers who are formally organizing with the intent to share risk and collectively share the benefits. So the idea behind a consortium is that you're going to reduce costs by pooling your premiums and pooling your risks. And this is more an advantage to smaller entities than it is to bigger entities, but it is an advantage to everybody because there's potential savings up to 30% in some cases on, say, your health insurance, and that's the first one that I thought we could take a look at. And you can, as Matt was pointing out, there is money available to hire consultants to help you to take a look at this, to do a feasibility study. And in that, and there are people practiced in that area. They would do a feasibility study and either tell you, no, doing a consortium is probably not going to help you much, or yes. We've taken a look at the figures, and setting up a consortium for, say, health insurance will be very helpful. And again, there's two funding areas, the local municipal fund and the local efficiency grant. There are two possible sources, and there are others, for getting these kind of monies to do a feasibility study. So I also mentioned healthcare. And again, there are 6 counties in western New York who have followed this example of coordinating their healthcare program, such as our social services. For example, we could go in with Saratoga County, Washington County, and others and provide the services that are provided by our social services department, but on a regional basis rather than localized. And they believe in Moreau, Erie, Genesee, Wyoming, Chautauqua, Onondaga counties, for example, they're finding that kind of shared service has real potential for saving money. Another idea that I put forward was shared service was animal control. I'm not so sure where I want to go with this. Technically, towns are only responsible for dog control, canine control. We're not technically, and it's a gray area of the government, feline or cat control. Who's in charge there? Well, actually nobody. I mean, you can go to your SPCA's and so forth, but as far as a municipality, you don't have to do anything. All right, how about rabies and dog bites? All right, that is a county issue. But my thought is, whether you want to go with just dog control, or do you want to broaden it to some kind of animal control, having one agency do that for all the municipalities would probably be an economic benefit, because if you took the aggregate total of what we're spending for animal control or even dog control, I think we could do it a lot cheaper by unifying that service into one entity. Now, could you go out and do an RFP and get an entity to put in for it? And if you think they have credibility to do the job, you could go with that. Or you could set up a new department in the county that would be animal control and do animal control for the whole county and take that burden off of the towns. Well, not only would that be nice, taking the burden off the towns, but I think there is potential for some savings there. I also thought that, you know, we all should be going in the direction of installing LED lighting. That's a win-win situation. You can realize savings up to 70% instantly. Not only in energy savings, but in maintenance savings, because the lights last much longer and don't require the maintenance that your traditional or older style bulbs do. Now, could we, if we wanted to go in this direction, could we, and the schools could be part of this and so forth, could we do an RFP, secure a service that they're going to produce or do by hour or by fixture rate for changing the lights over to LEDs? And then, supplementing that, do an RFP and get some costs for bulbs, costs for fixtures. So we all might be able to save some money on bulbs and fixtures by doing that effort collectively. And then we have what is also the community choice aggregation. I know the city is looking at it, Queensbury's looked at it. We could look at it as a county. There's no reason to keep that to a particular municipality. And a community choice aggregation is that you're not committed to this unless it's going to save money. Community choice aggregation is basically what we do on an individual level, privately and municipality-wise. We want to get the best bang for the buck. In other words, the cost of electricity, the cost of natural gas, we can all achieve some efficiencies and cost savings by doing it in bulk manner. So I think that we should take a serious look at community choice aggregation. My other idea is landscaping and mowing. We do it around the school, we do it around the municipality, we do it around the towns. We even do it around firehouses and EMS squads. We do it in our parks. Could we get that done less expensively by hiring a maintenance team that would do our maintenance like that, especially the summer? We all have the summer surges, well, at least the town of Queensbury does with the rec department and so forth, but I'm sure many of you do too with grass mowing and so forth. Is it possible that we could RFP that and maybe save money by having a separate entity do that? An entity that has the equipment and the efficiencies to be able to do it cheaper than we do it individually. Again, the same idea with the consolidation of maintenance and repair services, the oil changes and so forth. Yeah, sure, we can go to Warren Tire, but could we do it better than Warren Tire? I'm not saying that Warren Tire is an outrageous price, but I think that we could probably get it done even less expensively if we did it en masse. And again, something, number 8 idea that I put out there was a regional biosolids treatment center. We currently, we being the city of Glens Falls and the town of Queensbury, we are using the trash plant, but we can't do it forever. So we need to look at getting a regional biosolids facility. And there's people who are green in here who would like to see that our biosolids waste produced by our waste treatment plants and produced by Finch Bryan and others could be treated with a food waste stream that came from our institutions, the prisons, the schools, not that the two are related. And if we could direct a food waste stream into a biosolids production, we could produce a Class A soil, which, again, the farmers locally could use that in amending their soils. So there's a lot of advantages to doing a regional biosolids treatment center. Now, is it something that we could create, or is it something that we could use the services of an entity that's already been created, a private enterprise, and work out a contract with them? All those opportunities should be explored. Grant writing. Again, how many times? I mean, here's an example. We could be hiring consultants that would be helping us do the shared services, who have an expertise in the area, who could quickly tell us what we could do and not do, or don't waste your time doing, because if you do this, you're going to achieve some benefits. If you do this, I don't see any benefits being achieved, so don't waste your time there. And there are grants available for that. Well, how many times have we run into situations where we said, wow, if we had a grant writer, we could have done that? But maybe the grant writers, and I know that we have a planning department that does some of this, but can we expand this to include the EMS agencies and maybe the fire companies and maybe the municipalities? I mean, having a grant writing department might be a benefit to us. I think we ought to look into it. And then my last idea, which kind of ties everything in, is you can't do anything. I know that Supervisor Beatty mentioned a website, having all the available resources on that website, which I think is a good idea, but you can't share your resources unless you have a shared services agreement.
Correct.
So I have modeled a shared services agreement, and it is in your package today, and I think it's ready to go. It even includes a resolution for your boards to pass, and it's all set to go, to be signed, and if we all sign it, it's in. So all the potential shared services that we could be doing, equipment, services, and other, we could legally initiate that, and that's something that's easy to do, and we ought to do that right away. So that covers some of the things that I initially brought up in the last meeting, but there is also something that's underfoot right now, and I believe can be used for shared services, and that is the solarization effort. The City of Glens Falls, the Town of Lake George, Town of Chester, and Town of Queensbury, and I believe there's others who have joined us in this regional solarization effort, which is, in brief, an effort by the region to develop a scenario in which everybody will gain, and I mean by gain, it'll be cheaper for them to do it, to install solar panels and so forth, and energy savings, as well as real savings could be had here. So the area solarization thing, which is already underway, and you already have participants in it, I believe can be used as part of our shared services agreement. I think that should be looked into. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wish to add? I mean, we've covered a lot of ground here with the things that were put through. Andrea, anything?
You're reading my mind. Thank you. I am all about shared services, saving money. My only request of this committee is, as we're looking into all of this, I drive 45 minutes to get here. I'm never going to have a light bulb emergency, I hope. But stuff like animal care, animal control, we need to take into consideration the size of this county and how far and how long it would take to get services out there if we're centralizing it. That's my only request. Is everybody please be aware that some of us aren't in here. Thank you.
Matt, anything else?
No, I just wanted to let John know, I don't know if he realizes there is a private entity that's looking at a biochar facility in Washington County that would use food waste, town waste, and I think building.
Yeah, I'm
Some
sure
of, have you heard about that?
not a new one. I know of, was
Yeah,
the
that one's coming.
EMRI in Fort Edward. I did do a site visit there, and what they do is they take biosolid waste and they turn it into basically carbon. But that can be, but they don't have it, and there's nobody here that does it, but I'm glad to hear that somebody might be coming to
Yes.
the area to do it. You can take that carbon and amend it with the food waste, and it can become a Class A type soil and be used.
Yeah. It was a project that came before the IDA, just for information.
Okay, good.
And I know, have you had a chance to look at anything, or I know you just came in from the other?
No, I just would agree with Andrea. I'm 45 minutes away, too, so even looking into the dog control thing just doesn't work for us. You know, by the time we called and we got somebody from Glens Falls to come up to Hague to deal with the dog issue, I mean, it would, so the distance does make, you know, a big difference. With
Well, they don't have to be located here.
Pardon me?
They don't have to be located here.
Well, I understand, but for the dog control, I'm sure they're not going to locate it in Bolton Landing, so it only, ours works, so I guess that's what I'm going to say. Ours works, so at this point, we're very happy continuing the way we are. So to us, consolidating,
And that's fine. I'm just saying that I did not mention they had to be located here.
well, I know, but like
Yeah.
the dog control, if we went with, let's say, SPCA, that would definitely be located down here, and that would be kind of a hike to get from there up to Hague to deal with the
I understand.
Okay, that's all.
We could certainly, Dan or Claudia, I mean, we went through a lot of the city stuff already.
You did.
Yes.
The mayor was saying that he did cover the 3 that I had turned in
Right.
late, but at least they're on paper now.
Yeah. Yeah. Craig?
Well, I see on the agenda here, you do have countywide EMS, number 4.
Right.
Was that discussed at all?
That's work in progress. Frank, anybody down this side?
First off, there's no E in Stony, just for your information. Secondly,
Stony.
I think we have to also take into consideration that one size doesn't fit all, and that for a town like Stony Creek, some of this stuff just isn't practical. And I'm not sure the savings or the service will be there.
Paul, do you have anything more? Doug, do you have anything more? Either Doug?
The only,
Which Doug are you talking? The good-looking one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, touche, Dougie.
You just ruled them both out.
we have nothing to say, I guess. The only other, I know that you're trying to capture shared services throughout the county, and one very significant shared services that sometimes goes not noticed, and I think it occurs in probably in many different communities, and that is recreation and school district. In our case, John's recreation department is essential to our after-school programming, and frankly, moves right into some of our buildings. Once the school day is over, then the recreation day begins. So we have an integral relationship between the town and the school relative to recreation for students and children.
That's good. Doug?
Yeah, no, I've got nothing to add other than, the animal control thing is, and thank you for your input on that, because in shared services, we have already started asking all the towns to send in their contracts. We're trying to see what is consistent, what is not, and I know Julie Butler is creating a template on all the different contracts and so forth. But that's a legitimate concern, the 45 minutes or 35 or an hour or whatever. But like John said, it doesn't necessarily have to be located down here. But those are all some of the challenges with that Animal County contract, as well as the fact that when the animal control officer does pick up an animal, does it make sense that we have one contract, separate contract, where they house the animals, okay? Maybe this could be some savings there, because right now, they could house the animals in a lot of different places, okay? So that's just something that I know we're considering. Thanks.
Mike, do you have anything more to share? Mike Collins?
No, good thing.
You're listening. Yes, Andrew?
One thing, since we're all sort of living in the after sting of a consolidation attempt nightmare, moving forward is I really strongly believe that the input from all of the communities needs to be sought as we move forward in these attempts to consolidate. Some of them will work, absolutely, light bulbs, supplies, things like that, but time-sensitive services, and if we're going to go forward with contracts for this, just be aware in this that in things that are time-sensitive, it needs to be negotiated ahead of time, not following the fact that these outlying communities have to have their needs met with the same expectations or close as some of the more closer lying communities. That's all.
I just wanted to make a point Some of the towns don't want the contract, I'm hearing. With the plan, you have the option to opt out. You can opt out of just one piece of the plan. You just have to state why. So if you don't agree with what everybody else is agreeing with, you can opt out.
You know, in my mind, it's not an all or nothing. I would just like to see us meet somewhere in the middle. That's
Absolutely. Yeah. I know you represent CSEA. Have anything to offer? No.
Absolutely.
Supervisor Conover?
Yeah. I've been thinking maybe we could, the work we do for the transfer stations through our purchasing department, that if we could, maybe we should memorialize that in the new plan, because by the county doing and continuing and expanding doing what it's doing, you would think that it would increase the revenue on the recyclables, right? And that we would get the best price. And that works out better than each one doing it on an individual basis. In other words, that we're already doing a shared services element there, but it might pay to take a look at that and have purchasing take a look at that, because maybe if we memorialize that going forward, we might be able to secure the state grant, because I mean, we are going to face a situation with those containers. All those containers eventually have to be replaced, right? They don't last forever, and they're very expensive. And so we have these containers out all over the place. And so we're doing it, but I don't know if perhaps in this plan we could memorialize it within the plan and perhaps secure some dollars on the match to help us with some of the costs going forward.
John?
I think Ron's onto something there. I mean, let's take the e-waste example, that Julie Butler does a great job at trying to do a shared service and do some bulk buying for us and do some RFPing for services for us. Well, most recently, in the area of e-waste, the low bidder was ERI. They are a national outfit. They're a huge outfit. But they just didn't serve us well because we're not set up to do things in an e-waste in a big way. We're set up individually. We have our little transfer stations at each one of our towns, and we don't have a big facility. ERI was coming and they said, okay, this is what we want to do. We'll drop off the pallets. We want you to put the pallets. We want you to stack the TVs at 8 feet high. Saran wrap them, take the forklifts, and be able to load them on our truck when we come pick up. And we said, whoa, we don't have forklifts. We don't use pallets. We don't have a big facility. All we got are these little facilities. So the entity that wasn't the low bidder, Evolution Recycling, they did all this work for us. We called them up. We said, hey, we're getting overloaded with e-waste, and the shed's almost full because they can't be exposed to the elements, so they have to be enclosed. And can you come pick them up? So Evolution Recycling would send the guys over, they'd pack it up, they'd put it on board. All we had to do was keep it in a container, and the minute it started to get somewhat full, we gave them a call and they came pick it up. But they weren't the low bidder because they're not as efficient as the ERI, the big company. So what if we had one location with a warehouse and forklifts, and we dropped off our e-waste there? We'd be able to go to the low bidder and save some money there, but then you got the expense for the big shed and the forklift and all that. But maybe there's some possibilities there we could look into. I mean, there's an example of where we're paying extra right now because Julie Butler has to go out and rebid because ERI is just not going to work for us. Hopefully we get Evolution Recycling back, even though we have to pay more. But again, there's possible efficiency there.
All right, been around the table. Is there anybody else who would like to chime in on the sharing services? I know we have some good good items collected. What's the next step, Joanne?
We just have to create groups of people that are going to work on these plans. I was hoping, like, waiting for the new county administrator, because Kevin's not going to have time. But we really need to move along, so I think we need to have volunteers on who wants to work on what plan and be involved so that we can move forward.
Should we wait till after we choose a new administrator to do that, or you want to do it now?
It probably would be better, but I'm hoping
I mean, we're going to have somebody in place by
in a month.
the 15th of, end of March, I would think.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
You might wanna do
optimistic.
that.
You want to wait? We'll get together, we have school vacation, when is that? The first week in April?
Yeah, it's the first week, I think, yeah.
So why don't we plan on, we'll give you guys a week to get back after vacation, and the following week, we'll schedule a meeting, and we'll try to get this nailed down more. We'll send them out to everybody, and then we'll try to find some volunteers who want to serve on certain things. So certainly, I don't mind helping out on any of these townwide initiatives. I think it's a good idea, so. Is everybody okay with that? The second week of April, we try to nail down and get a better list together. I asked the schools, I know you probably purchase your supplies on a consortium basis. We ought to compare notes with what we do here on a countywide level with some of your pricing. Sure. To see if we, especially on office supplies, because I can tell you, we're getting some very good pricing now that we didn't get in the past. And maybe that wouldn't be a bad thing, Doug, if you would take the lead on that to try to
I'll
compare the contracts if we could sometime. Anybody else got anything to offer? I thank you all for taking the time coming in, and enjoy the rest of the day, so we're adjourned. Thank you.